So, we had an interesting situation this week. Usually at the end of the show, after we stop recording, we try to decide what we're going to be doing for the next week. So, we're a little bit prepared. We can have some ideas. We can do some research. That didn't happen so much, and we didn't
kind of my
touch as well as we usually do this week because we've all been pretty busy with one thing or the other. So that made it even worse. So by Friday night, Grover called me up on Skype, and what are we doing? I have no idea.
Yeah, it was the terror that was in my brain for a moment when he was like, I have no clue, and I'm just like, what?
I mean, we have topics, but a lot of these topics actually take a lot of time to make sure that we're getting on the right foot on these things. So it's not something we can just randomly take off on.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like last week, we weren't completely prepared, so it was awkward and difficult.
A lot of our shows end up that way in some form or the other.
It's horrible.
But, and then to make matters worse was Mike had one thing after another come up and unavailable. So, I don't know, it really seemed that everything was going against us, but we were committed to seeing the stream happen today, and we don't like missing an episode if we can help it. We'll record late if we need to, because we don't have enough people watching us to be worried about, they didn't come out on Monday, unsubscribe! So,
unsubscribe! Yeah, I was slightly unconscious when we were supposed to be doing the stream last week, because they were talking, and I guess, passed out on the couch. So it was wonderful. But, yeah.
So we thought, because it was going to be a stream, that we would just kind of, shoot the breeze, see what happens. And technically, that's not far from what we've already done, because we're running over time from where we're usually at in the show. But,
are we really?
Yeah, let's go back to that conversation that we were having about the new consoles and possibly not allowing used games.
Yeah, not allowing used games, that's just blasphemy for me. I can't comprehend that. But then again, Steam does the same thing.
It does.
It's complicated. I mean, it can work, but the game companies really need to think hard about what they're going to do with this. If they all do like Steam and you just buy it and it's attached to your account permanently and you can log into your account from different consoles and stuff, I think that'd be fine. But blocking it to a single console, that seems a little extreme to me, especially the fact that your console could break.
Among other things.
Yeah, it gets stolen or something.
I was talking to my buddy over at pixelnews.fr who's living over in France, so I wanted to get his opinion about all this stuff, and he pretty much follows what I do. The statement that I made that really stuck with me, and I know it's usually the other way around, somebody else's statement sticks with them, but the fact that with Steam, PCs are not going to ever be really outdated in such a state because they're always going to be basically backwards compatible. Now, the Windows operating system, that's going to vary. I do not like where 8's going because it does this against this very thing that I'm talking about. But when it comes to a console, can you imagine back in the day having bought a Super Nintendo and once the Super Nintendo was no longer being manufactured, none of the games worked anymore? Think
about it. With that.
Because that is what would probably happen to all of these other games. You'd have to re-buy them with a new console on their marketplace. Because I bet you 2 to 1 that will not stay on your account should you ever change to the next console.
Yeah, I bet it wouldn't. And to answer your question, Neil, I'm pretty sure it was Microsoft that you could transfer your account to another console as it is right now. For what they're doing, we simply don't know. We just see that they're patenting all this stuff. It's weird. It's actually quite terrifying because these are some hellified changes, and I don't think people are prepared for it. I think
it would be different if only one of the companies was doing it, but because most of them are doing it, it seems like a concentrated effort.
It just seems like it does seem like orchestrated effort to remove the used games network or groups.
And on one hand, you can see why they're doing it. They're not doing it to be hateful or evil. A lot of them see this as people will buy a game one weekend, beat it in a week, and then resell it. So that resell somebody else is picking up at GameStop or Game Exchange or wherever. That's money that the brand new version isn't making anymore. So that's a sale lost, and a lot of this is going on.
It's a really complicated situation because it comes down to do you own your game when you buy the CD? Mm-hmm. And you have rights to it, so they want the best of both worlds. They want to sell you a game, they want you to own the game, but they don't want you to give the game to anybody else. And they can't have that, so they have to choose one or the other. Well, yeah, it's all a form of DRM, but then there's extreme forms of DRM. Locking down a system so that when I install something on it, I can never use that CD for a friend's house or, one of my cousin's house or something. that is in the level of extreme DRM, where it's going to a point that is completely unneeded.
And made worse by at least the 720 is threatening to be an always online system. So for some odd reason that you can't connect, or you're a person like me who has a bad connection, this can be really bad for your games.
Yeah,
because I tried the Diablo 3 demo, and I was having a hard time playing a single-player game because of my lag was lagging myself. On a game nobody else was sharing, I was playing it on my computer by myself, and because everything was online, I was still having lag.
That's stupid as hell.
And that type of stuff will probably be more popular when it comes to the bigger system. Of course, when the day comes where everybody has at least 3 megs of download, then that may not be such a problem anymore. But
yeah, but right now that's a major issue. Some people can't even get that. They have to rely on satellite. Oh my god!
Thank goodness I'm not in that boat. But according to, let me see, Speakeasy, I think it was, or is it .net, I am in the lowest 9% of DSL users.
That's sad. That's really, especially that you have.
And we're talking across the world, not just the U.S.
It's kind of because I actually was trying to help Chris get better internet at one point, and he has internet broadband lines that have my kind of speeds less than a mile from his house.
They're about, yep.
It aggravates me severely to see that. And I'm just like, they won't add it to his area because to them it's not cost efficient.
And technically, I bet I could actually get it because I'm not supposed to be able to get the internet I have now. I'm not going to go into the whole rant about that, but basically last year I tried to get an upgrade because they kept telling me, oh, you can get up to 3 now. You can get up to 3. So I finally called and asked about it. There was a little bit of confusion at first because the first person I talked to set up the whole thing and nothing came of it. So I had it set up again, and this person was just as confused, and I went ahead and went through it anyway. And the guy came out here to disconnect another line. Otherwise, supposedly they didn't need to even come out for this. And I wasn't here at the time, so he basically said, well, your internet isn't going to be able to handle your upgrade, so we're going to have to downgrade you to 0.76.
What?
I
remember that.
1.5 since like 2006.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Because apparently the 1.5 doesn't come out in my area. So it took 2 weeks to basically fix that. Of course, at this point, and don't tell anybody because I don't want them to cut me back or put a throttle on my bandwidth or whatever, but I'm at actually 1600 kps these days, which is the highest I've ever been. I think I broke about 1420 back before all this. So I'm actually almost 200k faster than I used to be. Shh, don't let them know.
Your internet provider morons, basically.
Sadly.
Well, you have an anomaly here, you have something that we say you can't have. Mm-hmm. How dare you contradict us?
And it was all depending on who I was talking to, because there were some people who knew what they were talking about, and some people who were obviously just reading off of a list somewhere. And when I had people actually listening to what I was saying, things got done. And then when they had other people that were listening to technician reports or policies, nothing got done.
That is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. It's basically, they come and see, well, this house has this internet servers, but they shouldn't be able to have this. Fascinating. You know, maybe we should say that these people in this area can handle this level of internet. Instead, they're like, how dare they contradict us by having internet that's faster than we say? We will punish them by decreasing their speed. What?
You would think that they would want the extra money.
Yeah, you think they would. They're like, okay, we're going to do this, and you may not get the maximum speed that we're promising, but you're going to get a boost. That's for damn sure.
Now, a lot of people, specifically these companies in questions, are complaining that the reasons why there's so many shortages and brownouts and they can't quite get everybody up to the right speeds is because the network isn't there. Well, I don't know what's happened to it since then, but it was, I think, September, October, whenever the Google lines went through, and they started up their own little ISP company, more or less, and the speeds they were getting were beyond what any of the test companies could handle.
Oh, fiber. Google Fiber.
And it's using the same network everybody else is using. They did not lay down special lines to run their network. It's using what everybody else already has, and they were proving that they were getting speeds very close to 1 terabyte in some places. Insanity. And here we're stuck in, I mean, even 50 meg is slow compared to that by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or was it can't wait. It was a gigabyte, not a terabyte, but still.
Yeah, I would drop Comcast like a rock if fiber came to Springfield. No joke.
There may be some backfire to it that we're not familiar with yet. But
anybody that I've seen that's got it said that it's mind-blowingly amazing.
It's very limited circulation right now. I think it was 5 cities at launch.
5 cities. I think it's 1 gigabyte down, gigabyte a second. Yeah, people, 1 gigasecond down, and 100 megabytes up. Holy crap.
You could probably watch your entire subscription list of YouTube at the same time and not see lag.
Yeah, the only lag you would get from your computer struggling.
Okay.
There's other countries that have crazy speeds like that too. And it's just our company's making excuses and one being greedy.
Well, look what they're doing up there in Canada. And I know it's seeping down here where it's not just a throttling of your internet, it's you get this certain amount a month, and after that, your internet's turned off.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's really retarded to me. It's like all these companies promised unlimited, and then when people started, they're trying to preserve cable TV by punishing internet users. Yeah, it's mind-bogglingly stupid. And they said it's unlimited internet. I remember that because I remember my dial-up provider was not unlimited. They said you could have so many hours a month.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to Insight, which is the old one before Comcast, they said that unlimited. For Insight, it was always, go crazy, man. We don't care what you do. Whatever. And, of course, Comcast came, and they're just like, you're using a lot of bandwidth. What are you doing? And I'm just like, I have unlimited internet with you guys. Go to hell. And they're like, you actually have a 200 gigabyte limit. And I was like, where is this coming from?
Small print that we didn't send you.
Print or
It's
something.
on the website, though.
Yeah, it's on there now. And that for a while, they wouldn't even tell me what it was. They were just like, you have a limit, but we won't tell you what it is. So guess. What the hell?
I think Neil may have a point, though, because of the popularity of stuff like Netflix and Hulu. TV is probably hurting a lot lately. Some of the most downloaded stuff on torrents right now is not the big release movies, it's TV shows.
Yeah, it's TV shows. I mean, it's unfortunately television, as in you sit down and you watch your television in the living room, is becoming somewhat obsolete. And
And
they
how many
have
people
to,
are already watching those off their digital boxes anyway?
yeah,
I
they
can't
have
think
to
what they're
adapt.
called.
Television has to adapt or it will die out.
Mhm.
And they can't say, well, we're going to die out, so we need to force you guys to, stay in the Stone Age for something, which is basically what they're trying to do. You need to do it this way because we don't like the new way what you're doing. Well, I'm sorry, but the new way is here to stay. And there's a song, everybody heard it, that actually, or was it a song? It was a saying that I've heard, time marches on.
Mhm.
And that you can either keep up with time or you can stand still. And if you stand still, time will march right over you and keep on going. So you have to adapt and change. And a lot of these companies don't want to do that. They want to hold production and creativity and innovation.
The internet is going to be the new TV.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it already is. I think more people are spending more time on places like YouTube and Twitch than they do the actual television these days. I don't know what exactly the Nielsen ratings are saying these days, but unless it's some major TV show or some major event, I don't think they're getting the ratings they used to.
It's hard, because the television, all of them, they need to just embrace it. Like, if they said right now, hey, you can go on your computer and watch NBC, I'd be watching NBC on my computer, on the screen. I would be no different than sitting in my front room on the television. I would be watching them, and I would be a viewer to them. They don't want to do that. It's an oddity. They want you to go watch it on the television. When the computer is really not that much different from a television, only it's multi-purpose.
And a lot of TVs are now internet connected.
Yeah.
To watch those Hulu and Netflix and YouTube.
But some people are getting it, like baseball. I've already paid to watch the Cardinals on my computer coming in April.
A lot of sports networks have already been, channels. They've been pay-per-view for so long, I don't think it's that big of a change for them.
Yeah, they have no difference. They're like, well, people has to pay already for extra stuff, so we don't really care about all this. If anything, we'll just put it on the computer for they can watch.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that have adapted.
And they'll see the profits for it, too.
People have other things they can do now. They don't have to go watch that. So you have to appeal to your fan base, and you can't, appeal to the non-fan base and like, listen, we need you to watch this stuff, and we're going to restrict you, so you have to. Because that may have worked in the 90s when we had limited choices, but now it just simply pisses your viewers off, and then you lose a viewer.
Mm-hmm. If only temporarily.
Even
because a lot of people eventually come back because
eventually they come
favorite
back.
This or that's only being showed there. So,
but the same thing they don't seem to understand is that if I like your service and we're talking about something related to that, and I'm like, hey, these guys are really good, you should watch them sometimes, and there's a good chance the guys that heard that will go watch it. Mm-hmm. And then, but then we do the opposite. You pissed me off, and then we're talking about stuff, and I'm like, hey, these guys are assholes. Don't ever watch them. And suddenly, you've not only lost me as a customer temporarily, but I've now convinced other people that don't know what it is not to watch it ever. It's just negative publicity. It makes no sense.
You may never know what's in the minds of network executives.
Yeah, it's just, greed is what enters mind, basically. Greed and money signs.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's something that's completely off the topic that we were on then. The idea is to get more content around PrinnyCast, so make sure that we're doing more than just the once a week podcast. And Grover streams and videos are one great way of doing that. But I was trying to find other ways of building the community, building the network, however you want to call that. And one of the ways I was considering this was interviews with people. And so I'm getting things kind of work together. This may not be something we'll do until like summer. So it'll be probably starting off with people we know in various portions of the business, whether it's people like Neil or Alexander from
gamers.
Pixel News, those gentlemen gamers. So it can be people that stream, it can be people that's in the from websites, like I know Darren from Shine Sparkers. It can maybe be some journalists. I think we have a few friends that actually work in the gaming industry. The ones I know right now aren't actually employed by the gaming industry at the moment, but they were once upon a time and looking to be so again. But Mike knows some people at Blizzard and Microsoft. And
I know somebody that used to be a game tester. He would have been great for last week.
Yeah, but it's mostly kind of a 3-on-1, even 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 if we have to interview with people. So it'll be more about them, not necessarily like them co-hosting a show. At least that was what was going through my head at the time. I don't know if that's something we'll actually ever do or not, but I'm going to throw that out there and see if anybody else thinks that that's a good idea too.
I think it's a great idea. I don't see a reason not to.
And on a less technically difficult end, I thought about also showing my game collection. I've shown a picture that was like 2009-ish on the show before, but I thought about actually sitting down in a separate video and just going through the different games, maybe not necessarily playing them, because I don't have a means of capture for a lot of these yet. But yeah, going through the game collection, showing the books, talking about my opinions about the games maybe. Or at the very least, just shuffling through covers. I don't know. But it's something I'm considering, just for a little extra content out there. And I would like to get back to some Let's Plays.
I do need to get some Let's Plays too. It feels like I abandoned the people that watch me on YouTube. I have a couple ask me, are you doing videos anymore? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing Twitch. And they're just like, ah. I'm like, I'd expect that.
Well, there's a lot of people that love watching the stream, but at the same time, it's not always easy for everybody to watch a little bit at a time because, it's live.
Oh,
but
you closed!
With you putting your stuff back on YouTube again, that kind of eliminates it. It's not quite so bad. But you don't do as much commentary when you're streaming than you do because you are talking to people you can't see, whereas you're talking to the chat otherwise. And if there's a lot of people in the chat or they're being quiet, and you're not going to say much.
Oh dear. Hold on a second.
Oh no!
My video crashed.
Crash you video!
There we go. Cool. Alright, there we go. We're good. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think we should expand ways.
Mm-hmm. I've even been considering putting the news portion of PrinnyCast in a completely different video altogether. Like, we'll have a News of the Week video, and then the PrinnyCast will make it maybe 30 to 45 minutes instead of an hour show. But I don't know. I like getting you guys' opinion on the news sometimes. It's just ideas going on.
Yeah, it's always good to brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. That way people who aren't into the game news can get straight to the topic, and people that want to keep up with the game news and don't like the rest of the show can just watch the game news one.
Exactly.
Plus, it probably makes the videos a little shorter. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that happens.
Yeah, we're always going to experiment. Experimentation's good.
And of course, anybody has any comments or suggestions, hook us up on Twitch or email or Twitter, comment.
Or YouTube or anywhere.
Private message, email. You already said email. I did? Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, in that anyway, we're at PrinnyCast on Twitter and we're at PrinnyCast at gmail.com on the emails. And of course, you know where the PrinnyCast YouTube is because that's probably where you're watching this right now.
Very likely.
Yeah, if there's any good cracks or bloopers or anything, it's going to get on one of our blooper episodes anyway.
Oh,
Should probably need to do one. I think our last one was early December. We've had quite a few shows since then.
Yeah, I think it was during our vacation time that we did that.
It was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had about a month and a half. I might wait until it gets to 2 months. Because I've been leaving more and more of the bloopers in these days because it's just easier not to edit.
It's just us trying to, I'm not going to say be lazy, but yeah, kind of be lazy, but just make things a little easier on ourselves.
I'll be honest, I did have a little bit of a blowout over the whole movie games thing. And part of that was because I realized how much I just completely would take over the show sometimes, and it's a group effort. I mean, I may be the main host because I set everything up, but I see Mike and Grover as my equals, even if I apparently have a bad habit of just taking over the conversation every now and then.
I never
Usually
noticed that.
See, just like that. He's talking and I override him.
No, it's, you usually help keep things going, because sometimes I just go brain dead. I'm just like, herder, and you're like, okay, we got a jump start because both of them have disappeared went moronic.
Well, I've done that too. You guys have had to get me set back on track several times too.
We're really good at going on wild tangents.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
That's why I don't beat ourselves up over that too much. But the video game movie episode was a time and a half longer than it was supposed to be, and a large part of that was me just ranting about particular games about movies, because you guys hadn't seen most of them, and it just felt like I was strong-arming the entire show. I was rambling about stuff that if I would have thought about more, I wouldn't have said as much as detail as I did, specifically about Resident Evil, which I know was about 30 minutes of the show. And
I liked it.
And on top of everything else was that whole thing with the video getting flagged.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, it was kind of like, am I doing this right? Is this really what I want to be doing? I don't want to let the other guys down, but at the same time, is this really something to be stressing over as much as I do? Because this is my weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely, people actually have to do stuff. Unlike me, I do videos all the time and play video games, and basically video games and writing is my profession.
You keep yourself plenty busy. It's just, we record somewhere in between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock generally on Saturday. After that, it's hours and hours of audio editing, and after that, it's hours and hours of video editing, which usually means I'm done sometimes just minutes before I start uploading the first video on Sunday midnight. And
exactly.
With very little in the way of breaks except for sleep and eating. So this is like 36 hours of work I'm not getting paid for. And it's exhausting.
I'm always hoping eventually that we're going to get enough tension that we do make, I'm not going to go crazy and say, like, lots of money, but just enough money to make things easier, get more equipment on all sides, and just all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't have to make a living off the thing.
Well, I live very meagerly, so I could make a living off a certain amount. I mean, you learn to do that when you have some disabilities and you're put on limited pay.
Which is still something I may have to look into eventually, because work has really been slow lately. I've had one paycheck since January.
That's
January 1st at that. Which is why I should not be buying things like Street Fighter Cross Tech.
You gotta enjoy yourself sometimes, otherwise you'll go nuts.
But when Mike was out here visiting, I spent about $50, and that was supposed to last me for several months, and it should. There's a lot of great games I got. Well, at least games that should occupy me. And here I turn around and I buy more.
It's because there's so many games. You're just like, so many games, must buy more.
That's part of it. I have a horrible, horrible collection mentality, especially when it comes to fighting games.
So yeah, don't beat yourself over on that. We just want to try new things too. That's just what you got to do.
And I like being legal about it. I have no small collection of ROMs there, but I would much rather have a full copy of it. Now, whether I buy it new or used, that depends on the price and the condition of the game. It's just one reason I don't buy a lot of stuff on like eBay or Amazon used, because I like to see what I'm getting, or at least have easy means of returning if I can.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun with that on eBay.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of people to give me games. I got quite a few this year. I think I got, in 2012, I got at least 50 games, and I only paid for about 12 of them. So, fantastic.
If you split up some of them that were actually collections and stuff, I imagine I picked up about 20 games over the course of the Christmas.
I think that's awesome. You have
yes, that is.
You have a very awesome collection. I would probably have an awesome collection too if my family were thieving bastards. But yeah, no more on that.
No comments. I'd like to extend my collection every now and then. As a matter of fact, when I was out shopping and we were going at these different used stores, I was looking at some of the older stuff, specifically for the Genesis and the old Nintendo, because you'd think by now a lot of those games would be absolutely dirt cheap, but most of them that we were finding were $5 a piece and up. I remember when I could walk in somewhere and find a whole bunch of NES games for just $1 a piece, and I kind of regret not getting more of them back in the day.
If you're lucky, you can go into garage sales and spot them.
Yeah, I think it was last year my mom had went to a garage sale and found this fantastic setup that was basically just a box of stuff. They didn't even know what all was in it exactly. So, bring it back home, I think it was about $40, and I wish I had an actual list of everything. There was like 3 Nintendo games, I think there was 5 GameCube games, 3 or more PlayStation 2 games. Of course, some of these were in kind of sad shape, or a lot of racing games, so stuff like American Chopper and SpongeBob SquarePants the movie and stuff like that. So it's stuff that I may or may not have bothered playing at any point.
Still score.
And then I got a PS1. It has no controls, it has no memory cards, it has no hookups, but an extra PS1. on, you know?
Yeah, that's always good.
A GameCube, with most of its parts, I need to get an adapter for it, because I know this is off tangent again, but Mike had sold me his old one back in the days because he was getting a Wii, and the Wii was pretty much backwards compatible with the GameCube, but his version had not only the Game Boy adapter on it, but him and his Smash Brothers is not quite him and his Mega Man, but it's close. So his was outfitted with that fancy sticker of the Smash Brothers on it. So he was really wanting that back. So he bought it off of me for less than what I bought it off of him for, because mine was stolen.
Oh,
Long story. But so I need to get the power pack to that, basically, is where that conversation was going. And as if that wasn't enough, there was some extra controllers of this, that, and the other. Most of them were in kind of bad shape, but not completely awful. And a practically brand new PS2 Slim with everything in fantastic condition. So I made out with, I think it was, at the end of the day, it was 13 games and 3 consoles for $40.
Hell yes.
That was probably the best yard sale find ever for me. And I like to brag about how I got my Sega Saturn brand new with 4 games for $30.
That's awesome.
That was actually better than that. And my poor Sega Saturn, you know, most of the games I have, all of those battery pack cartridges and stuff, they still work. As far as I know, my old Legend of Zelda still works. I think my Dragon Warrior still work. I don't have too many RPGs on the old NES. But my Saturn, on the other hand, has died. And as you may or may not know, the Saturn relied on its memory card system pretty much being an internal flash hard drive. So when it went down, all of my games went with it. So all my fighting games with the characters unlocked, the couple of RPGs I did have, and because it's completely dead, it's the battery that's dead, there is no saving at all. It's not like a reboot, okay, we'll just have to start all over again. No, it does not keep a save at all anymore. So that's something else I need to replace, because there's a couple of games I liked on there.
Well, I had my Sega was at least 40 games, and I quit collecting games, and that just disappeared. I mean, the whole system, everything, all the games. Just I just came home one day, and they just weren't there, and of course, nobody knew what happened. So, you know, yeah, I used to collect games all the time.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, imagine for you, that'd probably be way worse for you. Just come home and your whole collection's gone.
Oh, I would be livid. I would find out who did.
Somebody would die.
Maybe not that severe, but I don't know.
I think for me, if I had thousands sold for me, someone's gonna die.
It was Thanksgiving, I think, of 2003, and I'm not somebody that gets out a whole lot. I'm not, super sick, but I'm not in fantastic health either, so I don't get out a whole lot. And family get-togethers. Go to a Thanksgiving party. Yeah, got robbed, come back, doors cracked open with a crowbar, and the only thing that's missing out of the entire house is pretty much everything that was in the downstairs collection. So,
that sucks.
All but I think 4 PlayStation 2 games, and I had almost 30 of them at the time. All of my GameCube stuff, from the controllers, the system itself, and all of the games, 2 of which were borrowed from Mike at the time. The PlayStation 2 with the Game Shark and the controllers, all my gun cons, my arcade stick, and it seems like there was something else that was gone too that I'm forgetting about. But all in all, it was at least 40 games and 2 systems, and the police kind of shrugged, what do you do? If you ain't got insurance, what do you do?
Yeah, I hate that.
That annoys the heck out of me, because they left evidence all over the place. There was even a stump at the time in the backyard they ran into on their way out. They left paint. We could have found these people.
But the police were like, nah, we're lazy.
Yeah. Well, there's only so much they can do sometimes, but arg, all the same.
Yeah,
it's a bad memory, but, you move on. You can't stay paranoid all your life. And most of the games that were stolen, I do have back. So we made it to the hour-and-a-half mark.
It's really good having no notes whatsoever. I mean...
And strangely enough, despite all our tangents, we pretty much only kept like 4 topics.
Yeah, it didn't go that bad.
It wasn't too bad. I'll go ahead and say that that's our show for this week. Join us every Monday for the next PrinnyCast on YouTube, or you can join us live every probably Saturday. We don't exactly have a standard time slot yet, but somewhere between 1 a.m. and 5 p.m. Oops, sorry, 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Thereabouts where we're usually at. But we'll try to be live for each and every one of those. And yes, like, subscribe, comment.
Something, anything. We'd like to know that you're there. Let us know.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on this Twitch.
Add more desperation to our voices.
So that's our show for this week. Yada, 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 blunder, blunder, blunder. Let's see you next week.
Goodbye.